should we be doing a wireless controller? The first 25 were meant to be the celebration of games that are really interesting and informative. There's so much I can do with something that really just was originally this and this.
So it's been a couple of months now since the Atari 2600 Plus launched at the end of last year. How would you say that launch went, and what has it been like finally getting it out into people's hands?
It was really exciting. You know, it's a product that we've wanted to do for a while. It's a product that Wade personally wanted to do. He was one of those people who like soldered his cables to try and get them through to a CRT, or it wasn't easy to play these 2600 games, even if you had a working Atari 2600. So it's something we'd wanted to do. We worked with PlayOn to bring it out, and we're really happy with the end result. It feels very much like the original. Though so much attention was put into things like the getting the right tension and click when you move the levers and things is nice. It gives the homebrew developers a new platform to target, even though it's the original platform, but there's new hardware out there now and it's exciting. But there's also so many people who had one growing up, had cartridges at home, didn't have the device anymore, and they saw it and it was this immediate trigger, like I have to have that. We're also bringing out a 2-button joystick for the 7800 controllers. And a paddle that doesn't come with the game, so it's a little cheaper for people who don't need the game cartridge. And then the team's really looking at, down the road, more controller form factors. How do we unlock things like trackballs? Should we be doing a wireless controller, even though it's trying to be as traditional as possible? You know, sometimes you want to sit a little farther away from your screen. So there's a lot of development going on. It's not a one and done for us.
On your left there, you've got the 400 Mini, which is coming out very soon. What was it about the 400 Mini that made you go down the Mini route as opposed to like another Plus, where the analog's the main focus?
There's so many really good games out there that we needed to be unlocked. I think a lot of the really hardcore devotees have found ways to play these games on PC, but the collector community and then the more casual gaming fan wants something that's a little more accessible, excited about having the original form factor. Working with PlayOn and Retro Games, they'd had success in the mini form factor, so they were very excited to actually be able to work with an Atari. And the 400 was, when everybody sat at the table and said, where should we start? The answer was the 400. It's got the membrane feel of the keyboard, but it's not a real keyboard. It's quite small. And it's got an SD slot that allows you to play whatever games you want. It comes with 25, I think. I gotta say, actually, the build quality is amazing. It really feels good, but I mean, it's quite small. It's not a home computer.
It's not going to take up too much room in your house or office.
No, it isn't. It isn't. But it will, if you want to play those 8-bit games, it's going to allow you to do it really quickly. I think they did a very good job of adding a UI to it that allows you to not only get into the games and understand them and play them right out of the gate, but also add modern things, conveniences that you would, saving and recording and rewinding and things like that.
And just on those 25 games, I was wondering if you could talk about the process of selecting them. Why 25?
What I will say from what I've seen and experienced is that there's a really good variety of gameplay. The gameplay types, gameplay loops. So if you want to do the ladder chase and avoid, there's some driving games. It's a good representation. I think that was the goal, and also to a certain extent, IP that was held in the family of Atari and PlayOn, the games that we were able to bring out, and then the extension, of course, with that SD slot. It's really you can play any 8-bit game you get your hands on. Which is the intent. The first 25 were meant to be sort of a combination of a celebration of games that are really interesting and informative, but also to provide you with a variety so you could really see the depth of development that was happening at the time.
And you got the hits on there like Centipede, Asteroids, Missile Command.
Yeah, I mean, it's an Atari, and there are certain IPs that just everybody wants to play. And it's kind of interesting to see the subtle differences across the 2600, 5600, 7800. What was changed, what was kept. It's interesting. But yeah, the greatest hits are there.
We were talking a little bit just now about the integration of the buttons on the ring of the joystick controller. Just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, seeing as it comes packed with the form.
The form factor of the joystick is something I think a lot of people miss, and when modern developers see it, there's a little bit of a head tilt, and you can see them start to think about, what can I do with that? But it had one button, and it was fairly limiting. So what, when Atari came out with a new version of the joystick a couple of years ago, we added a fire button and some almost like gamepad style buttons on the top. What the team did with this is they actually added some press functionality to the ring around the joystick, which I think is really interesting. So it's and there are two smaller buttons on the front. So it looks like a one-button joystick, but I think there are 8 functional buttons. It's pretty cool. There's some discovery there. Like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to push the inner ring to make that happen, but you pick it up pretty quickly, and then you're like, oh wow, there's so much I can do with something that really just was originally this and this. You know.
If you could tell us when the 400 Mini is coming out and how people could pick it up.
So the 400 Mini, I believe the release date is March 28th. We do have one more surprise between now and then, which is coming, and that'll be exciting. You can buy it at Atari.com in the States, and then universally there's a number of distributors, and of course Amazon. So it should be fairly broadly accessible. What I will say is that it will probably go through periods where it will sell out and you'll need to pre-order it, because the initial response was quite strong compared, I think, perhaps to some of the forecasts, which was a pleasant surprise, and I think shows the interest in that platform.